Right, let's return to our top story now. Manchester United's continued woes. We can cross live to our senior reporter, Melissa Reddy, for more on the club's mounting problems. Melissa, good to see you. Ruben Amorim has said they're in a relegation battle. They're just 7 points ahead of the drop zone. That must be tough to hear for Manchester United's fans. How does he get them out of it, and how might the January transfer window help?
Yeah, well, Ruben Amorim said that Manchester United need a shock, and there can't be much of a greater jolt than a relegation scrap, and him saying that they need to engage themselves and focus on survival. I never thought I'd hear a Manchester United manager utter those words, but that's the reality of where they're in. And it's so hard to see where he can find solutions from, because the team is struggling in every single respect. The players are so uncomfortable in the system. They're second-guessing themselves. They cannot defend corners, but they're also now struggling to be obstructive in open play. They don't create. They're so woeful in the final third, and they don't smell of goals unless when there's the threat of conceding them, because it just seems that every time the opposition try and attack them, they're going to get joy from it. And the lack of energy, legs, and ingenuity in the team is really alarming. So can the January window help? Unfortunately, no, not unless there are big sales, because that's the financial situation United find themselves in. And Amorim admitted as much last night that there's no possibility to bring in players if they don't offload any. But what he has at the moment is a squad that's not built for his football. And I know there are scary numbers floating about in relation to United and their form, but since his appointment, only Southampton have lost more games in all competitions, which really should set the alarm bells ringing. So I know United financially are not in a position to do much, but they have to find a way to inject quality, pace, and purpose into the side.
OK, some really tough fixtures, of course, coming up for Manchester United. None bigger than Liverpool, which could get very ugly for United. Will Amorim change his approach for that one, do you think?
Spoiler alert, he won't, and it might seem like madness, but Ruben Amorim has to stick to the principles that have brought him success, that Manchester United hired him for, that he believes in. And he actually made the point that if he wavers now from his ideas, from his approach, how can he expect the players to have credence in it, to have credence in him, if when things are going tough, he turns his back on what he knows? Now, what he has to do, though, is change personnel, combinations. Pairing Casemiro and Eriksen in midfield, for example, is asking for trouble. He has to inject speed into the squad. They're so languid. And we have to be understanding in a sense, because he's only had 4 full training sessions to try and teach a squad that have been built for a totally different kind of system what he wants. So in this packed schedule, he needs to find the time or some kind of methodology to see his ideas translate better. But oof, you know what? That Liverpool team that are imperious with Mohamed Salah delivering what could be an all-time season, I can understand why Gary Neville is hoping that United don't turn up at all, even though he's joking about that, because it could get very, very ugly.
You mentioned the need to sell, Melissa, in order to buy. Marcus Rashford been a huge talking point as he left out of all these squads. He was in the squad last night, didn't get on. Perhaps offloading him, could that solve some of those financial problems?
It would help considerably, because Marcus Rashford, as an academy graduate, he'd be banked in the books as pure profit. He has said he's ready for a fresh challenge. The club are open to letting him leave. The issue is there is no market for Marcus Rashford because of his salary, his valuation, his form, all the off-field problems that have been reported. So you're looking around, and in the current landscape where domestic clubs are trying to meet their PSR aims, and clubs in Europe really can't match the level of Premier League fees, both in terms of transfer fees or the salaries players demand. And you can't see where Rashford begins a new adventure and where United extract the kind of money they need for him. Now, none of the big clubs around Europe have registered any interest, and in fact, it's been the opposite. Some that have liked Marcus Rashford previously, like PSG, they've made it clear that there is no active interest in him at the moment. So while that would be the ideal solution, given the player wants a new challenge, the club need funds to reinvest, I cannot see how they make that happen in January.
Really good. Melissa, thanks for speaking with us this afternoon. Have a great new year.